Hi, and welcome to this video about what's new about File Manager on Commander Pro. Since last video about what's new was about version 5.1, so in this video, I will show you what's new in version 5.2 of February, and version 5.3 of last month, and the latest version 5.4. And let's start with version 5.2 on Commander Pro. So first, when you do a rename, so let me Ctrl R, and now if I do, for example, let's say I match with the entire file, and I can do a replace of, let's say also the entire files. Oh yeah, it's a regular expression, so here we go. So it replaces all the character with all the character slash. So it's in a subdirectory with again the same name. Or I can put, for example, A afterwards. Then you see now it's showing here in the rename to-do column, it's showing the relative paths. And also if I put my mouse on it, so you'll see the tooltip that will show you the full path. So for example, if I decide to go // then you'll see with the tooltip it's gonna show me the real path that it's going to. So now this is the relative path and the full path in the tooltip. And also sometimes where you were looking, so I'm not going to rename them, but sometimes when you were searching for clipboard, it was not always looking for the clipboard that it should, so this has been fixed. Now let's go to find in project. So fix find in project, not to search from the two global directories. So sometimes, so find in projects, let me show you what it is. So here you can, let's say, select something and then go to here, find files in project. It will look at the entire project and will try to find a file that starts with this selection, for example. So here I can navigate between files. And sometimes, so to do it, it needs to find the root of the project. And sometimes if it was not finding the root, it was going all the way back to the root of your disk. So that could then take a lot of time to search for all the files in your disk. So that this has been optimized so that if it doesn't find the root of the project, it won't scan the entire disk anymore. So that was also the thing. So and then that to not search from two global directory and also not going back to the root, basically. So there was at the moment not search if no root is fine. Binary editor, so let me show you like the binary editor. It's also here. So let's update some binary like GIF files. And now it's compatible also with Amazon Web Service S3 file system. So what's the problem? The SSH panel has been removed. So used to have in the shell SSH panel, so now it has been removed. Basically, what you can do, let's go in a new tab, SSH. So now you, instead of using the SSH panel, you open the new tab with the applet panel, and then you have in the shell, you have SSH. And basically it's gonna download install the same SSH panel for you. So that's why it has been removed, because now it's part of more the applet runner plugin. Bookmark. So you also have like a bookmark panel. So now it has been also removed. So here it was deprecated. So in favor of the bookmark file system. So let me close this one. And let me maybe show you the, can probably show you the bookmark file system. So if I go here, then you can go here and see the bookmark file system. You can select it, and now you navigate your bookmark inside whatever panel you want to use. So that's why we don't need a specific panel for the bookmarks. Action. So now with rename special, you also have special multiple rename. Now there's a new way to multiple rename is basically to have a mapping. So here I can maybe go test and hello, and then you see that it's gonna rename test to hello. So it's, and then I can have multiple with a dot comma and then something else. What you can also do here is instead of the arrow have a tab, so that you can, if you have a specific mapping, you can easily import from an Excel sheet, for example, to a lot of files. So this has been added for the rename special. Also improves the way remove diacritic is done. So now it's gonna, if you have something called a test with the accent, and then it's gonna, it improves the number of diacritics supported. Okay, let's close it. There's nothing to rename. So yeah, sometimes the multiple rename colon was not showing after closing the application. So it was closed in an incorrect state. So this also has been fixed. And there was sometimes an error showing a rename special that I've just shown you, so that's been fixed. On Windows, you can also have an action that says restart as administrator. So you can restart the file manager as administrator if you want to do an operation in some special restricted directories, for example. And this has been fixed if the application was in a directory with space. So now when you categorize, let me show you categorize. Oh yeah, sorry. Here are the files. Change categorize. So now you have a help button that will provide you with more help for how to use these special categorized or classified files with it. And also in the list of the files that you see that's going to categorize, it will, the tooltip will show you the list of the files that are going to move to this directory. In terms of files, let me show you. Yeah, so the C drive is no longer considered as a hidden drive, so it's gonna show you as a correct thing, because on Windows it's considered as a hidden end system directory. If you are copying some file with the exact same name to the same directory, it was some problem maybe with some conflicts, so this has been fixed. And also there was some possibly in some cases some failing operation for compile, empty content, monitor change, and so on, and a few file things. So this also has been fixed. So it has been a refactoring from how to show relative files. So these are some kind of relative files. So there's been a bit of a refactoring on how to do it. So if I edit a file, say this one, and now when I save the file, basically it also clears the cache of what is the size of the file and what is the last modified date of the file. So then it's going to show again correctly here and not use the cache value. And same thing with clearing info of a linkable file. So if I was using the same thing but from a bookmark file system, for example, it's also going to find the underlying file and clear the cache of the file it was linking to. And also same thing for cluster file, because they also are like links to other files, so it also has been improved. So sometimes was some problem with using the last modified file for the size and the date in cluster file, so that's been fixed. So sometimes when you were searching for and then you decide to change, it was not rescanning correctly, and this also has been fixed. And for LST file, you can also have line with comment that will be ignored. So this way, if you have a LST file that contains basically the content of a directory, it will ignore all the files starting with hashtag. The GitHub, so let me go for system GitHub. So this window was some problem with closing this window. So now you see now it can close correctly. And same thing for the cluster window was not closing always correctly. So now if I click also cancel, it will close also correctly. Then breadcrumbs has been improved. So let me go to file with a lot of breadcrumbs. So now in breadcrumbs, basically you have the link to the directory that moves you to a specific directory, and you have the link on the arrow, and the arrow which lists all the subdirectories. So if I go, maybe go there, and here it's gonna show me all the subdirectories that I can change to. And now this arrow was also doing the listing, but now you see the tooltip is showing the directory, and now if I click here, it's basically gonna navigate to the directory and no longer list files in this directory. Bin shell has been removed, so same thing as for SSH. Bin shell is no longer there. So if you want to go to bin shell, open the applet runner, do it in a new tab, shell, and then we can go here, and in shell, it's under SSH. You also have bin shell, and basically it's gonna download and install bin shell, and then you can still run bin shell inside on Commando Pro as it used to be, but it's no longer a specific panel. Same thing, the thing is notice that this select panel has changed, so that now everything concerning going to a specific viewing, a different way to view directories, different way to view files, different ways of shell, and the special panel are in different now categories like directory, file, and other. There was a library that was 1.5 megabytes that was not used from classes from one of the libraries, so I adapted the library to remove the file. And the tutorial here, generate tutorial, has been improved. There also has been various small improvement and bug fixes in this release. Okay, let me close this one. And also in the application framework, there's been also some improvements, so any improvements. And that's it for release 5.2. So now let's move to the release of 5.3 of on Commando Pro. So now the improve. So if I was looking for something like test, it's also now improved the way of searching for file with diacritics. Also the speed has been improved for searching for files, and also the sorting by name also been improved in terms of speed. So there's a new a search with a selected name, so a new way to search. So let me show you. So for example, let's say I select test.txt. If I'm looking for, well, selected name, it will show me all the files that start with test, or at least it would be the same thing as going for test. If I click on test2, then you'll see it showing me everything that starts with test2. And basically it's going to use a selection. It's going to replace SLN with whatever the file that is selected. And if you had more than one selected, it's gonna do a OR. Okay, so there was some fix in search that sometimes, for example, SLN is also same thing as, for example, S is for selection. So this time it's gonna only show me the selected file. So here one, but basically it was a bug that if you was then adding anything, so that it would not show, because yeah, basically it was considering as a subquery, but now this has been fixed. So, and again, there was some search when searching the start of the query that was also incorrect. Improve searching for dates using equal. So now you can do equal and then a date, and it will show you the file on this specific date. The thumbnails. So let me show you what is the thumbnails panel. So let's do replace panel in this case with the thumbnails. So here it is, the thumbnails panel, and basically show you image in thumbnails. And there was some bugs. So for example, it was loading the images more than once. So this has been fixed. Now you also have some settings. So you can either configure, let's say I want to configure it. Now you have new settings. So you have the panels, thumbnails width and thumbnails height. Now you can also define if you want to cache or not the created thumbnails for the specific panel or for all the panels. So you can also go in the panel settings, and in thumbnails you have the same thing, but then it's gonna apply to every new also thumbnails panel. So that was also the caching, and there's some various improvement also in this panel. Let me replace it with a standard directory. Oh yeah, not in a new tab. Let's remove it. Yes, what I need to do was replace directory. Okay. Open as a template. So basically, what it will do, it's a new action. So let's do F9 and open a template. What it's do is going to go do a copy of the file to a new file, and then open this new created file. So you can use basically the selected file as a template. So if I do this, open as a template, what it will do is it will create a reload1 file, and basically you see it opens my text editor with this reload1.txt. Then you have prevent to create the file system manager multiple times. So when you are starting on Command Pro, sometimes it would create the what's called the file system manager multiple times. That was not needed. So now it's make sure that it's only created once. Also, when you started, sometimes it was also loaded the Git library that could take a few hundred milliseconds, but it was not needed because nothing was related to Git. So now it's only done when it's needed. The multiple rename help. So if I do Ctrl R, so this help are also being improved. Let me close it. .app directory. So okay, it's this one. So sometimes you have directories with .app, and on macOS it basically means that it's an application, so it should open the application and not consider it as a directory. So now if you double click on it, it's gonna open as an application. And also if you are using another skin on macOS than the default one, basically would not use the macOS icon, but it would use the file icon of the skin. So now this has been fixed on macOS, that it's gonna always show the folder and the icons of the OS and not the one of the skin. And now also when an image is less than 10 kilobytes, instead of showing the icon of the application, it's gonna render the image. So here you see this one is more than 10 kilobytes, so it's just gonna show me with the icon of the application that it's gonna use. But you see that all the other files that are less than 10 kilobytes, it's gonna render basically what's in the file. For Linux, if you have a desktop file, .desktop with the extension, it's going to open it, try to find the icon that is defined in this desktop file, and try to render the icon of the desktop files as the icon that is defined in the text file. So we have also some more caching done. For example, caching if a file is a directory or not. So because otherwise it would add again and again when you were doing, for example, sorting of or rendering of the file. So if you were to scroll, it would let me go. If you were to scroll, it would always check for is it a directory or is it a file. So this one is now cached. And same thing for the formatting. So here you see we have formatting on the size and we have formatting on the date. So now also the formatting is cached so that when you scroll, it's going to be more fluent, because otherwise it was always recalculating again based on the, for example, of the date, what it show you, which date it would show you. And I think sometimes incorrect top 5 projects. So you have something called, let me show you maybe here. Okay, let's do here, for example. So you have project dashboard as option that will show you a summary of the project. Resize it a bit. Yeah, and sometimes it was in the top files by size, it was sometimes incorrect, because basically what it was doing is was accumulating the files. So if you had a file with the same name in different directory, it was additioning the file size, so it was not the top files by size. So this has been fixed. So also same thing when you were using execute command, it was some problem with some refreshing of the UI, and this also has been fixed. So other things, panel settings, and yeah, and on Commander Personal, which is a free version of on Commander Pro, it was missing these two items in the configuration. This has been added. Yeah, so what you can do is drag and drop files. So if I have select, you can drag and drop files. And the thing was that it's can take a few hundred milliseconds to initialize, and it's not really needed at the beginning of the starting the application. So it's done like 1 second later after the application is done, so that it doesn't take time into the startup of the application. So in on-commander personal, you also have a new tab shown in the about dialog about other softwares that are created by Japanese. On macOS, about and quit are now also in the standard location for all the application. Yeah, you had a bug on macOS that if you are sometimes using the menu to show, for example, a window, and it was showing the window, and then when you are closing, it was showing again the window again. So this has been fixed. There were also even more performance improvements, more than this one. And in the application framework, there were also a few improvements and bug fixes. And that's it for version 5.3 of on Commander Pro. And now let's move to the latest release as of April 2024, 25, sorry. Yeah, so for the multiple rename, so there's basically there's also a few things that I've shown that were buggy and then they have been fixed in there. So let me go show you again. So there was some bug with showing the tooltip in this case, the drag and drop. So indeed it's still delayed, but basically if I do drag and drop within the same directory, so in this case I'm just going from here to here, or I can even go from there. You see that now it's cancelled. It's not gonna ask you, do you want to copy this file to the same directory? Basically it detects it's the same directory and doesn't need to ask for it. The same thing for the selection. If I was using equal selection, I was changing the selection, it's fixed, but I've already shown it. Find in project. So there's been some improvement in find in project. So let's go to some project. Let's go here. So now find in project. So if I select this one, go to find file in project. Plus it's gonna show correctly. There was some bug if you had nothing in your clipboard. So first it's gonna use the selection. Then if it doesn't find the selection, basically you can just now, you don't need to select it. You just have to put the caret inside the file. And if I click again on find in project, it's gonna show me all the files that start with this part. So in this case, file operation. Let me go back because and then in the last case you could also use with clipboard. So first it's the selection, then where the caret is positioned, and if the caret is basically nowhere near a word or inside a word, basically it's going to look at the clipboard. So in this case, in the keyboard I've copied file system exception, and it's going to try to find what is in the clipboard. So that's what it was. So first was fading in case there were no selection and or no text in the clipboard. Now you're gonna use a caret position when there's no selection. Also, yes, so in one of the previous version we had decided from, okay, it says we cannot find the root, we don't search. But in this case, what we're going to do now is if it cannot find the root, it's going to use the current directory and subdirectories for the search. SSH, so the code that I've shown, so the panel was already removed, but the code was still there. Now the code has been removed, so it won't, because it's no longer needed anymore. Mega toolbar is now deprecated, so now you have a mega toolbar panel. You open it in a new window that contains some actions. Now it has been going to be removed in upcoming releases, because basically you can just use F9 where you can easily find and execute actions. And you also have another system that I'm going to talk now. It's here. Now you have a quick toolbar, so it's a Ctrl Q on Windows, or Command Q probably on Mac. And basically what it will do is it's going to show you, you see in the panel, it's going to show you a quick toolbar. So it's a toolbar, but this tool, unless this one that is fixed, this one you can edit it, you can add a new action. For example, div directories, and then if I click OK, then you'll see it's updated. So it's a quick toolbar, and this quick toolbar you can also access this with shortcut. So now if I click on 1, it's going to show settings. 2 is a replace panel. 3 is now div directories. So basically, okay, if I click escape, Now if I show it and then I click on 2, it's gonna do okay, replace panel, and I can say okay, now replace panel to a directory 3, and now the panel has been replaced to a directory 3. So again, Ctrl Q, replace panel. So in this case, we have a new directory table, and again, it's gonna change it. So it's a quick way to have a customizable toolbar that also have shortcuts to quickly access without even using your mouse, your top 10 actions or even more, but only the top 10 will have, top 9 actually is going to have a shortcut to click with the button. So this was also the quick toolbar tool, so that's why I removed I deprecated the mega toolbar. So bookmark. So the panel type that was also somewhere here for the bookmark panel has also now it's been removed. As I've shown before, it's replaced with the bookmark file system. So in this release, one of the big changes is the configuration as a new item, and it now configures the file system. So file system, you can also, for example, if you use FTP, it needs passive mode, and you can specify it. You can specify the timeout. You can have advanced or not advanced setting. User directory is root. So in advanced settings, for example, I want to provide with a specific proxy for this FTP server. If you don't provide any hostname, the setting is going to apply to all the FTP servers that you're going to use, but you can also apply a setting for a specific FTP server. So you just need to provide the hostname, and whenever you use this hostname for the FTP, it's going to use a specific setting for this FTP server. So at the moment, you have 4 file systems that you can configure. FTP, FTPS. So FTPS also have like an explicit or implicit, for example. All have different settings. Again, you can use some more advanced settings if you want. Same thing for sftp. You can also do a few more things from load OpenSSH config for you, or a different way to configure a proxy for sftp, for example. And GitHub, you can also provide the API token to access GitHub API is in a better way. So also what has been changed is wsl localhost. It shouldn't cache the directory icon because it's a specific directory that sometimes that's not going to show you as a normal directory icon. So this has been changed. Do not cache it. Yeah, so what you have is sometimes when you are moving a file, so in this case, let's move a file from a directory to another directory, but on macOS and Linux, sometimes it would use the same file system because it's, unlike Windows, it's not start with a letter, but it was on different disks. So basically you just mount a disk to a different directory, and it was thinking, oh yeah, I just need to move this file in the same disk, but it was 2 different disks, and the moving task would fail on macOS and Linux. So this has been fixed. And on macOS, home applications also shouldn't cache the directory because it's probably going to contain your personal application in there. Already seen the quick toolbar action, so I'm not gonna go back. Go to directory or file. It's now more tolerant to, so let me show you navigation. So you have to go to text field. So imagine I was putting a space before, or maybe a space after, or there was some ending with some incorrect character with some quotes. Now it's more fault tolerant. So for example, if you copy paste it from somewhere else, it's gonna fail. It's gonna still find, okay, basically what you meant was to go to this directory without the spaces, for example. And same thing when you see you can paste a directory to go in there, and same thing is more for tolerant in this case. So go to directory, and spacebars are more tolerant to incorrect, slightly incorrect input. Yes, there was some shortcuts that were still available on Commander Pro for actions that were not normally available in on Commander Personal. On Commander Personal, so this make sure that they are not available for on Commander Personal. Yeah, the categorize are just a small change. Just need to change the icon. Was not looking that good. When you do here, the help also has been improved for renaming regular expressions. And then again, various improvement and bug fixes in there, small things, and also in the application framework, also various improvement and bug fixes. And that's it for what's new in On Commander Pro 5.4, 5.3, and 5.2. And thank you for watching. Let me show. Okay, let me start Chrome, and let me. This is a website where you can download and try it for free. Just need to click on whatever, or just the download button, and just install it directly and start using it. And thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.